I knew something was wrong the night her fitness tracker buzzed on my nightstand. She had left it behind, again. A small, forgettable mistake, but the screen lit up at 11:47 p.m. with one word: workout complete. I looked toward the bathroom. Silent. No shower, no lights. He wasn't home. That was the first crack. We lived in a top-floor loft in the heart of the city. Glass walls and skyline views. A place we chose together. Back when together meant something. I'm a corporate lawyer in urban planning, and she used to work in arts management before she said she was taking time to rediscover herself. At first, I respected that. Gave her space. Let her breathe. She started going to the gym daily. Yoga, boot camps. Self-care, she said. But the patterns changed. She began coming home later. Her gym bag smelled like lavender body spray and cologne I didn't wear. She started locking her phone. Then came the ask. "Babe, can we move the house title into my name? Just in case something ever happens to you. I don't want to deal with probate." We weren't on bad terms. No screaming matches, no threats. But something about her tone, too smooth, too scripted, twisted in my gut. I paused, but I agreed. I rationalized. We'd built a life together. I had nothing to hide. Trust was the foundation, right? It wasn't until the second tracker notification that I started watching closely. That night, I opened the fitness app on my old iPad. I'd helped her set it up a year ago and forgotten it synced across devices. It still remembered her login. Her gym sessions had stopped tracking at the fitness center 2 weeks ago. Her workouts now traced tight loops a few blocks away, in a luxury high-rise I didn't recognize. I zoomed in. Unit 14C. Same building, every time. Always around 10 p.m. No gym there. Her texts had grown colder. Her affection, mechanical. The space between us filled with curated conversations. Safe, meaningless, sterile. The next morning, I tested her. "How was class?" I asked, pouring coffee. "Intense," she said. "Core burnout. I'm sore everywhere." She smiled. No hesitation, not a twitch of guilt. That night, I didn't sleep. I waited until she dozed off, then stepped into the living room with the iPad. Heart pounding. I reviewed her activity from the past month. Route histories, step counts, even heart rate patterns. There was a rhythm to it. Visits every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, always after dinner. Elevated heart rate spikes around 10:15 p.m. Lingering drop-offs near midnight. I mapped it. Overlaid it with dates she claimed to be out with friends. It wasn't a coincidence. I looked up the building. Luxury rentals with a 24/7 concierge. One of the tenants was a private personal trainer who advertised discreet coaching for elite clients. His name had appeared once in her contacts. I remembered it now. A slip. Derek. The same name she'd casually mentioned 3 months ago. "Derek says I should push harder in class. He says I hold back." I stared at the glowing screen. My chest felt like it was slowly filling with cement. This wasn't paranoia. It wasn't a hunch anymore. It was math, location, time, patterns. This was planned, and she had the deed to the house. How do you react when the person you trust most starts lying with a straight face, and the data proves it? I didn't go to work the next morning. I sat at the kitchen island in the still dark loft, light from the city bleeding in through the blinds. Her scent still lingered in the air, sandalwood and jasmine. It used to ground me. Now it curdled my stomach. She was in the shower, singing softly. Same voice, same routine, but everything felt counterfeit. While she lathered and rinsed, I copied the last 2 weeks of her fitness tracker data to a flash drive. Timestamps, GPS routes, even her elevation changes. She wasn't just going to Derek's building. She was going to his unit. Over and over. I needed proof, not suspicion, not just my gut screaming, something concrete. So I called Noor. She's a friend, technically, a journalist for an independent city paper. We'd crossed paths a few times when she covered the zoning fights I helped mediate. Smart, sharp, always 3 steps ahead. We'd grabbed drinks once, months ago. Harmless, professional. But I remembered her beat, shady real estate deals. And I remembered the building, Unit 14C. It rang a bell not just as Derek's probable lair, but because it belonged to a shell company recently mentioned in one of Noor's articles. "You free?" I asked. "I need a reality check. Off the record." We met at a quiet cafe off 8th Street. She wore an oversized hoodie and had that morning coffee energy that suggested she never really stopped working. "What's going on? You ever dig into Cypress 40 Holdings?" She raised an eyebrow. "That's one of the dummy LLCs tied to CNL Developments." "Why?" "I think my wife is sleeping with someone connected to it. Derek. He's a trainer, but he lives in a unit leased under Cypress." And I slid the flash drive across the table. Her fitness tracker logs say she's been there repeatedly. She blinked once. "You tracking your wife?" "No, she forgot her watch synced to my iPad." Still creepy, but smart. She pocketed the drive. "I'll cross-check it. If Derek's in their network, he's not just a side piece. He's part of something bigger." That night, I watched her. She came home glowing. Not just worked out, but radiant. She laughed easily, complimented my cooking, something she hadn't done in weeks. And yet she flinched when I suggested we host a dinner party. "Too much going on," she said. "Things are complicated." A week ago, I might have let it go. But now, every word was a potential breadcrumb. Every breath, a possible tell. She went to bed early. I opened her laptop. Password changed. I tried mine. Denied. Her old one. Denied. So I went back to the tablet. The synced messaging app hadn't updated until that night. Her phone had briefly connected to the home Wi-Fi, and the app pushed cached data. It wasn't much, just fragments of a conversation. "He's distracted again. I think it's time. Don't hesitate. You deserve this. You've waited long enough. Once the contract clears, we disappear." My skin prickled. Contract. Disappear. This wasn't just infidelity. This was orchestration. I copied the messages, emailed them to myself, backed them up twice. The next day, Noor called. "You were right. Derek's unit is owned by a holding firm tied to CNL. And he's been quietly coaching several women, divorcees mostly. Same pattern. Trainer-client relationship. Transfers of property. Then they vanish. But your wife? She's different. Her name just popped up as a strategic partner in a zoning proposal linked to a new luxury tower." "What?" "She filed it 2 weeks ago. Co-signed with Derek. She's listed as a cultural liaison for the development." My chest locked. Not only had she taken the deed to our home, she was trying to build on the bones of everything I'd fought to protect. I'd spent years pushing back against exploitative developers. I knew their tactics. I knew the language. But I never thought it would be weaponized against me by the person I trusted most. I sat alone in our loft that night while she was at yoga. I didn't even need the tracker anymore. The lies were consistent, too consistent, like a script she'd rehearsed. I poured a drink. Neat. 1 ice cube. I turned off the lights and let the city hum around me. The truth was loud now. This wasn't an affair. It was a campaign. A coordinated exit wrapped in charm, empowerment slogans, and perfectly staged vulnerability. And the house? That was the first casualty. Not just the space, but the symbol of our life, signed away under the illusion of love. I felt the grief creep up my spine like cold fingers. Not for the loss of her, for the version of me that had believed her. There's a kind of humiliation that comes from realizing you were never the main character in your own marriage, just the scaffolding for someone else's plan. But scaffolding can collapse, and I was about to bring the whole structure down. I opened a new tab, searched fraudulent property transfers under duress, and then fitness tracker data as admissible evidence. I didn't flinch, but I did save every page. What would you do when faced with irrefutable proof of betrayal that demands an immediate response? I didn't go to the gala, not because I didn't want to confront her, but because I didn't need to anymore. I already had what mattered: leverage. Noor sat across from me in my home office, a laptop open, pages of printouts stacked on the table between us, financial disclosures, shell company filings, screenshots of messages, timestamps. "So what's the play?" she asked. "Quiet, clean, no fireworks," I said. "She loses everything and never sees it coming." I filed a legal motion the next morning, a petition to reverse the property transfer on grounds of undue influence and misrepresentation. As her husband, I'd trusted her. As an attorney, I'd left just enough ambiguity in the paperwork to challenge its legitimacy. I knew the process. I knew the language. She didn't. Meanwhile, Noor helped submit an ethics complaint to the city's zoning committee. My wife had signed on as a cultural liaison for a development group I'd previously opposed, without disclosing our relationship or her insider access to city planning intel. That alone could get her barred from future real estate work. While she was busy putting together her next pitch deck for C&L, I was busy dismantling the foundation beneath it. She didn't suspect a thing. 2 days later, she came home, tossed her bag on the kitchen counter, and kicked off her heels like everything was normal. "You're quiet tonight," she said. "Just tired." That night, while she slept, I changed the passwords on the shared Apple ID. She still didn't realize her laptop was synced to the admin account I controlled. I revoked access, wiped documents, and locked down cloud storage. Anything with my name on it. Gone. The next morning, I got a text from my real estate attorney. "Motion accepted. Temporary injunction granted. Title frozen pending review." She walked into the kitchen half an hour later, scrolling through emails, confused. "Something's wrong with the deed record," she said. "The title's flagged." I nodded. "Yeah, I know." Her hand froze over the counter. "You did this?" "I protected what was mine. What you tried to take." Her expression changed, confusion giving way to something sharper. Cold calculation. "You don't know who you're dealing with." "I think I do, and that's why I'm not giving you another inch." She left that afternoon, pacing and cursing into her phone. I didn't follow. I forwarded every document to my lawyer and to Noor. That night, she tried to log into her laptop. Failed. Tried to access shared folders. Denied. She slammed the lid shut. "You're trying to erase me." "No," I said. "You already did that when you signed my name away." And then I walked out. Not to leave, just to let her sit in it. In the silence. In the reality. The next morning, C&L removed her from the development partnership. Her payment account was flagged for audit due to the zoning complaint. The property transfer was under review, frozen and likely voided. She returned to the loft around noon. The locks were changed. I'd left a small envelope taped to the door. No legal threats, no accusations, just a single note. "You took the house. I kept the blueprint, and I rebuilt without you." How do you move forward when victory doesn't come with applause, but with silence and total control. There's a moment, after betrayal detonates your life, where silence feels like drowning. I sat alone in a short-term rental across the river. Bare walls, synthetic sheets, no art on the walls. Nothing that reminded me of her. Nothing that reminded me of us. But still, her voice echoed. Not the words, those had long lost meaning. Just the certainty with which she said them. As if stealing our home was logical. As if erasing me was justified. You were never present. I had to think about my future. You left me behind. They clung to me like smoke, and for a moment I wondered if she was right. Had I buried myself in work? Had I become emotionally unavailable? Did my own silence give her the space to rewrite our story? No. There's a difference between imperfection and betrayal. I didn't leave her. I just didn't see she was already gone. And now, I was done reflecting. I called Raj, my old colleague and one of the few lawyers I'd trust with blood on the line. He handled real estate litigation, aggressive when needed, surgical when it counted. We met in a private conference room, metal chairs, dull overhead lights. I slid a thick folder across the table. Inside, time-stamped messages, GPS logs, notarized documents, and the false affidavits she'd submitted with Derek to secure partnership status with C&L. You said you wanted this clean, Raj muttered, flipping through. I want it surgical, I said. No noise, but it has to bleed. He smiled grimly. You've got coercion, misrepresentation, abuse of fiduciary trust. We could file for punitive damages. Possibly a motion to seize anything she earned from the C&L partnership. Do it. He pulled out the paperwork. We sat across from each other, and for a moment, the room blurred. My hand hovered over the signature line. I wasn't just signing legal forms. I was severing the last thread of who we'd been. Grief doesn't always come with tears. Sometimes it comes in pen strokes. I signed. Later that night, Noor forwarded me the zoning board's internal memo. My complaint had triggered a quiet investigation. C&L had gone into damage control, distancing themselves from both Derek and my wife. But that wasn't the twist. The twist was a clause in the development proposal Noor found buried in the appendix. Derek had listed her, my wife, as co-beneficiary on a private equity payout. If the project cleared zoning, she stood to make 6 figures off the same real estate scheme I'd fought against for years. She hadn't just sold me out personally. She'd weaponized everything I built. That changed things. This wasn't about property anymore. It wasn't even about love. It was about principle. So I took it further. With Raj's help, we filed a secondary claim, not just to invalidate the property transfer, but to block any disbursement of partnership earnings connected to my name, work, or IP. We tied it all to an ethics clause in my consulting contract that my wife had violated by accessing privileged city planning data. The move was quiet, powerful, and devastating. It froze everything. The next morning, I received a call from a blocked number. Her voice. You're ruining my life. No, I said calmly. You ruined your own. I just filed the paperwork. There was silence on the line. Then a shallow, broken laugh. You think this is over? You have no idea what Derek is capable of. Click. She was cornered, and now she was pointing to him. The final hearing didn't take long. Raj said it would be straightforward, and he was right. My wife didn't even show up. Her attorney claimed she was under stress and not in a condition to appear. The judge reviewed the filings, nodded once, and ruled in my favor. The property deed transfer is vacated under undue influence, she said plainly. Any profits derived through unauthorized use of privileged information are to be forfeited pending further review. It was done. No headlines, no photos, just a stamp, a signature, and a quiet declaration that the lies didn't win. I walked out of the courthouse into crisp autumn air and stood on the sidewalk for a while, letting the moment settle. I'd gotten the house back. More importantly, I'd gotten myself back. Divorce papers came 3 weeks later. I didn't contest them. I just had my lawyer amend the settlement. No alimony, no profit sharing, and a clause stating that any earnings tied to my work or networks were explicitly off-limit. She didn't fight it. Derek? He disappeared from the city's real estate registry within a month. Rumor had it he'd taken his consulting business elsewhere, probably to repeat the cycle. But his reputation was tarnished. Noor made sure of that, with a series of quiet but surgical articles that pulled no punches. As for me, I didn't jump into a new job or romance. I reclaimed time. I repainted the loft. Not to erase her, but to overwrite the version of my life she'd distorted. I started biking again, something I hadn't done since law school. I joined a small urban design collective where no one cared about my resume, just my ideas. And I started spending real time with people who weren't transactional. Friends I'd neglected, colleagues I used to brush off. One night over dinner, Noor asked me if I regretted anything. I thought about that. Regret? No, I said, but I grieved the part of me that stayed silent too long. Because that's what betrayal teaches you. It isn't just about what someone did to you. It's about what you allowed, what you ignored, what you justified in the name of love or peace. But survival? That's about what you reclaim. She wanted the house, I said, but I kept the blueprint, and I built something better. In the months that followed, I didn't look back. Not because I'd forgotten, but because I'd finished the chapter myself. I didn't wait for closure. I signed it with clarity and I walked forward. My plan wasn't perfect. It didn't fix everything, but it worked because I stayed patient, calculated, and willing to let go of what couldn't be saved. And in the end, that was the most powerful choice of all. Some victories aren't loud. They're the quiet return of self-respect, sealed in silence. Share your own story or thoughts in the comments below.